Now, Long Island's largest radio news team brings you the Associated Press award-winning program, Newsline.
Coming up on Newsline, Tuesday, May 7th, 2019.
Another school shooting.
McConnell and Schumer face off.
And a presidential candidate calls for impeachment.
In business, more women are rising in the corporate ladder than ever before, and Uber and Lyft drivers take to the streets. I'm Lyanne Sousa, and I'll have that and your closing numbers later in the broadcast.
In entertainment, Taylor Swift reveals more secrets about her music video Me, and the royal baby breaks Instagram records. I'm Natalie Kate, and I'll have those stories and more coming up later in the broadcast.
Breaking news in the MLB as a star player makes his return and several awards are given out in college softball. I'm Julia Presti, and I'll have all that and more in sports coming up later in the broadcast.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sarah Javers.
And I'm Danielle Zolkowski. We begin tonight's broadcast in Colorado. 2 people are in custody, and authorities are engaging a third suspect after at least 2 people were shot at the STEM charter school in Douglas County. The sheriff's office calls it an unstable situation and has told people to avoid the area. The charter school teaches kindergarten through 12th grade and has more than 1,800 students.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says the investigations of President Trump and his 2016 campaign are case closed for him. During a floor speech today, McConnell blasted Democrats in Congress for what he sees as their unhinged partisanship.
Angry that the facts disappointed them. Angry that our legal system will not magically undo the 2016 election for them.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer took to the Senate floor moments later to blast McConnell.
Of course he would say, this is all done. It's not done. If Russia interferes in 2020, it's not done. If this president or future presidents believe that they can avoid the law and even break the law, at least according to 375 prosecutors, it is not done.
Schumer called McConnell's remarks an astounding bit of whitewashing, not unexpected, but entirely unconvincing.
Senator Elizabeth Warren has called for President Trump's impeachment. The Democratic presidential candidate took to the Senate floor shortly after McConnell. Warren held a copy of the Mueller report while she responded.
No matter how many times Mitch McConnell or the rest of the Republicans want to wish that away, it's there in black and white in the report.
The Justice Department is of the opinion that a sitting president cannot be indicted, so she says the only way to hold the president accountable is by starting impeachment proceedings.
Coming up after your Newsline business report, tonight is the last night to file a tax grievance, a murderer is sentenced, and allegations of sexual assault of a Long Island school. But first, your live and local traffic and weather update. WRHU News Time is 5:33.
Newsline.
Up to the minute local traffic.
We're caught in jam on the Southern State Parkway heading eastbound between exit 15 Corona Avenue and exits 19N and 19S Peninsula Boulevard. The brakes are pumping on the Meadowbrook Parkway southbound between exits M3 East and M3 West Merchants Concourse and exits M4 and M5 Hempstead Turnpike. There's high volume traffic on the Southern State Parkway eastbound between exit 14 Valley Stream State Park Road and exits 20N and 20S Grand Ave. Moving to the rails, all lines are running on or close to schedule. Up in the sky, there are high-volume departure delays at JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark airports due to thunderstorms, but please check with your carrier before heading out. It's currently 65 degrees and sunny today outside our studios in Hempstead. Expect temperatures to drop to a low of 52 later tonight. Expect another warm day tomorrow with a high of 65 and a low of 48. With your Newsline traffic and weather update, I'm Courtney Ingalls, and I'll be back with another update coming up later in the broadcast.
Newsline.
Business news.
The market plunged today in fears of an expanded trade war between the United States and China, as the Dow Jones fell 479 points to close at 25,965. The Nasdaq dropped 125 to close at 7,963. And finally, the S&P 500 was off 48 points to end at 2,804. More women are opening up new businesses than ever before, with an average of 1,900 businesses opening per day in the U.S. A big reason women are climbing the corporate ladder is the ability to have more flexibility with time. Women are still the primary caregivers, and one researcher study shows women start businesses to accommodate work to their family needs. And over to the roads. Drivers for Uber and Lyft are planning a strike and protest around the world on Wednesday. Many drivers say their pay has consistently fallen in recent years and are unhappy with their status as an independent contractor. Protest is set for worldwide from New York to London and Scotland. For your Newsline Business Report, I'm Lyanne Sousa.
WRHU News Time is 5:36. Nassau County taxpayers have until midnight tonight to file a tax reassessment grievance. Nassau County Executive Laura Curran says she is optimistic that many Nassau County residents will have a positive outcome.
What we found, though, what the latest data shows is that more than 55% of taxpayers, of property owners, will be getting a tax deduction.
More than 253,000 out of 400,000 homeowners will be challenging their reassessments. Assessment Review Commission Chairwoman Robin Laveman says they will be processing all files this year and every property will be individually reviewed.
3.5 years after the murder of an 83-year-old woman, her family finally receives justice. A farm worker admitted to her murder in court yesterday. Victor Gomez admitted he used a fire extinguisher to beat 83-year-old Lois Colley to death back in 2015. Gomez fled from the U.S. after the murder but was captured when a social media post led police and the FBI to his location. CBS reports Gomez will likely spend 20 years to life in prison.
A senior at Riverhead filed paperwork yesterday to set the groundwork of a $10 million lawsuit against the principal and school district. Her lawyer alleges Principal Charles Reagan sent her sexually explicit text messages and photos for a few months. 18-year-old Anastasia Stapone says the two became friendly when she was going through a rough time, but their relationship began to change in January when he offered her counseling services. The student also says the principal allegedly kissed and groped her last week.
We hugged, and then he brought me in for a kiss, and he held the back of my neck and brought me closer. And when everything was over, I got out of there as fast as I could.
The notice of claim, the first step to a civil lawsuit against a municipality, cites gross negligence, a lack of supervision, and misuse of school resources.
Federal authorities have issued a subpoena to Oyster Bay Town Hall about matters of the Genovese crime family. Deputy Town Supervisor Gregory Carmen Jr. says the names seem to be related to the family, and, quote, "There are no members of the Genovese crime family that I know of that work for the town." Carmen says the request was a broad request for any records of the named people, but did not think it was directly connected to the town. John Marzulli, spokesman for the U.S. Attorney's Office Eastern District, declined to comment.
The Long Island Railroad is set to debut its first new trains in almost 2 decades this month. Officials say the updated trains will provide improved amenities as well as more safety precautions for its commuters. Following several delays, which includes damage from a derailment last year, LIRR officials say they hope to introduce the new M9 electric cars by the end of the month. This is the first new fleet since the M7 trains back in 2000. LIRR officials say the first batch of M9 trains, totaling 92, will be in service gradually over time from May all the way through January of 2020, with an option to purchase an additional 110 M9 cars. The first new fleet will total 202 cars priced at $734 million. New amenities will include electrical outlets at every row of seats, automatic pocket doors between train cars that open by pressing a button, and digital displays with each car number. A digital display on the exterior of the car will display the train's destination.
Coming up after your Newsline entertainment report, Georgia's governor passes a fetal heartbeat bill into law today. Current and former federal prosecutors say that Trump would be charged with obstruction were he not president. And 700 women die from pregnancies in the U.S. each year. But first, your live and local traffic update. WRHU News Time is 5:40.
Newsline. Traffic.
We're caught in a jam on the Southern State Parkway heading eastbound between exit 15 Corona Avenue and exits 19N and 19S Peninsula Boulevard. The brakes are pumping on the Meadowbrook Parkway southbound between Northern State Parkway and exits M6 and M6 West Southern State Parkway. There is high volume traffic on the Northern State Parkway westbound between exit 21 Brookside Avenue and exits 17 and 17S Hempstead Avenue. Moving to the rails, all lines are running on or close to schedule. Up in the skies, there are high volume departure delays at JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark airports due to thunderstorms, but please check with your carrier before heading out. With your Newsline traffic update, I'm Courtney Ingalls, and I'll be back with another update coming up later in the broadcast.
Newsline. Entertainment.
Taylor Swift fans have just found some of the hidden secrets in her candy-colored music video for her hit song Me. The singer announced today that there are still dozens of more hidden references in her music video that have not been discovered that reveal secrets of what is to be seen in the rest of her album. Swift said in an interview that she wouldn't have any interest in planting all of these secrets if it weren't for her fans and their interest in the secrets. There's another royal baby in the family, and he is already a social media star. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry welcomed their firstborn child, a baby boy, yesterday morning. Both the Duchess and the baby are healthy, and more details about baby Sussex will be announced in the next couple days. The birth was posted on the Sussex Royal Instagram, which was created back in April. The birth announcement gained 1 million likes in less than an hour and now has over 2.7 million likes. The annual Met Gala occurred last night in New York City, and here are the most over-the-top looks of the night. Lady Gaga arrives in a pink dress, but promptly stripped down to a black dress underneath. Then another pink dress under that, finally stripping down to her underwear. Katy Perry was a life-size chandelier with electric candles and dripping with crystals. Singer Casey Musgraves dressed up as Barbie. Cardi B appeared in a burgundy gown that extended into a full quilted circular train. The dress had over 30,000 feathers, and it took over 2,000 hours to create. And lastly, Kendall and Kylie Jenner wore colorful feather gowns made by Italian stylist Versace. For Newsline Entertainment, I'm Natalie Kate.
WRHU News Time is 5:42. Abortions after 6 weeks will now be illegal in Georgia after Governor Brian Kemp signed into law the state's fetal heartbeat bill today.
The Life Act is very simple, but also very powerful. A declaration that all life has value, that all life matters, and that all life is worthy of protection.
This new piece of legislation will prohibit abortion after a heartbeat is detected in an embryo, which usually happens between 5 and 6 weeks into a woman's pregnancy. However, at that point, many women do not know they are pregnant. The bill will go into effect in January 2020. In the meantime, the American Civil Liberties Union and the Center for Reproductive Rights will begin to challenge the legislation.
Former Democrat and Republican federal prosecutors argued yesterday in a statement posted online that President Trump would be charged with obstruction of justice if he were not president. The statement was signed by more than 600 former prosecutors and other officials. It offers a rebuttal to Attorney General William Barr's determination that the evidence Mueller uncovered was not sufficient to establish that Trump committed a crime. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer took to the floor to express approval of the statement earlier today before the number rose to 600 officials.
While my friend, the Majority Leader, wants to say case closed, I don't blame him. 375 former federal prosecutors looked at the Mueller report and said publicly that the conduct of the president amounts to felony obstruction of justice.
In the statement, prosecutors write they have multiple instances they say satisfy elements for an obstruction charge. One instance being the president's efforts to fire Mueller and to falsify evidence about that effort.
About 700 women die from preventable deaths of complications during and after pregnancies each year in the United States, according to a report released today from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. Women pass away from cardiovascular conditions, infections, hemorrhages, and other complications relating to their pregnancies up to a year after delivering their babies. Researchers say there were many contributing factors to these deaths, including access to proper medical care, missed or delayed diagnosis, or warning signs that went unnoticed.
Wage discrimination is something that still affects many groups in this country. My co-anchor Danielle Zolkowski spoke to one person who is taking this fight in the highest court of the country.
Gender-based wage discrimination is an issue that has rocked the nation for years. This fight is not over for one woman whose case for equal pay has gone all the way to the Supreme Court. Eileen Rizzo Acosta is a math teacher and an equal pay advocate in California.
When I was hired, I knew that there was a 10-step salary schedule, and I started at 1 and falsely assumed that that's how everyone started, at 1. So it wasn't until 2012 when a newly hired male was talking about his contract that he had just signed and telling the other males in the department that he had signed at a salary step 9. In my application packet, I had provided the contract of the school where I came from, and they had used that number to place me on the salary schedule. And that was the way that they kind of placed everyone. So she said, we take your previous pay and we use it to base your current salary.
After discovering she was being paid unfairly, Eileen explored her legal options, and her case was taken all the way to the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit, which presides over all of California and the surrounding states.
It originally hit the Ninth Circuit in 2017 in February. That time it was heard. It was 3 judges who overturned the lower court. And then there was a petition for them to rehear it en banc. And so that happened December of 2018. And then on April 9th was the decision from that vote that was in my favor. So overturned the original 3 that had heard it in the Ninth Circuit, overturned their decision and ruled in my favor. It did reach the Supreme Court. It was relisted about 5 times. So it went to conference about 5 times for them to vote whether or not to take the case. They did finally look at the case and remand it back to the Ninth Circuit. The reason is because it wasn't on the merits of the case. It was because the judge who wrote the decision passed away before it was filed. And they felt that it wasn't a valid decision because a judge can change their vote up until the time it's filed. And so that technicality has sent it back to the Ninth Circuit and unfortunately has remanded the decision from April 9th that was you cannot use previous salary to justify a wage gap. They have so far renamed the new judge to take Reinhardt's place on the panel of 11 that saw my case, but they have not scheduled it for an oral argument. So I am estimating in the fall or in the spring for my case to be reheard again with the original 10 and then the new judge for a new vote on the case. It can be appealed once again to the Supreme Court on the merits of the case now and not on the technicality of the judge passing away unexpectedly.
Eileen is planning on continuing to fight for her case to help women in this country and make sure everyone has access to equal pay in the future.
I think for far too long, half the human race has been denied access to equality, and so we can't rest on any civil rights that we thought we've won, because as long as someone is treated unequally, we all have that risk of being treated unequally.
For WRHU, I'm Danielle Zolkowski.
Texas officials say a newly released cell phone video shows a traffic stop from the point of view of the woman who committed suicide after being arrested for a traffic violation. Sandra Bland allegedly became confrontational when she was pulled over. She was found dead in her jail cell 3 days later. The video clip was obtained with the help of the investigative network. Lawsuits against the state and county jail were settled for almost $2 million in total. Bland's mother, Geneva Reedville, says the money is not the object. Sandra Bland was driving in Waller County, Texas, near her alma mater, Prairie View A&M University, where she was due to start a job as a college outreach officer.
Coming up, your final live and local traffic and weather update. But first, your Newsline sports break. WRHU News Time is 5:49.
Sports update.
Down in Alabama, the Crimson Tide softball team keeps their awards rolling in after they won the SEC regular season earlier in the week. Today, the SEC announced that first-year transfer pitcher Sarah Cornell was named SEC Pitcher of the Year. This award is the 6th Pitcher of the Year award in program history and the first since 2014. Back in Hempstead, 6 players on the Hofstra softball team were named to the all-conference team. Shortstop Kristen Howland was named Defensive Player of the Year, becoming the first player in program history to win. Megan Giordano was named Co-Rookie of the Year and named to the first team All-CAA. 4 other players earned conference accolades. On the diamond in Brooklyn, the Hofstra baseball team currently leads the LIU Brooklyn Blackhawks 15-5 in the bottom of the 7th. In breaking news, Shohei Ohtani will make his return batting third as a designated hitter for the Angels, coming back off a Tommy John surgery he had in October. The Angels face off against the Tigers at 7:10 p.m. In the Bronx, the Yankees announced that Brett Gardner will bat last in the order as they look to take Game 2 of the series versus Seattle. First pitch is set for 6:35. The Orioles and the Red Sox will face off in an American League East matchup as David Hess rejoins the starting rotation for the Orioles as he is on the rubber tonight. First pitch is slated for 7:05. Out west, the NL Player of the Week Noah Syndergaard and the Mets look to bounce back after last night's loss as they take on Manny Machado and the Padres. First pitch is set for 10:10. On the ice, the St. Louis Blues and Dallas Stars face off for a critical Game 7. The Blues had a tough road to get to the second round of the playoffs, but Captain Alex Pietrangelo believes his team is prepared.
We've been in some tough situations, obviously, throughout the whole year. Backs up against the wall just like last game. We played the way we wanted to play. I think this is a resilient group. I know we say it over and over again, but that's what we are, and we'll be ready.
Sound courtesy of the St. Louis Blues Twitter. Puck drop at Enterprise Center is set for 8 p.m. With your Newsline Sports Break, I'm Julia Presti.
Newsline. Up to the minute local traffic.
We're caught in a jam on the Southern State Parkway heading eastbound between exit 13, 13N, and 13S Central Avenue and exits 20N and 20S Grand Avenue. The brakes are pumping on the Meadowbrook Parkway southbound between Northern State Parkway and exits M6 East and M6 West Southern State Parkway. There is high volume traffic on the Southern State Parkway westbound between exits 21 Brookside Avenue and exits 17N and 17S Hempstead Avenue. Moving to the rails, all lines are running on or close to schedule. Up in the skies, there are high volume departure delays at JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark airports due to thunderstorms, but please check with your carrier before heading out. It's currently 65 degrees and sunny today outside our studios in Hempstead. Expect temperatures to drop to a low of 52 later tonight. Expect another warm day tomorrow with a high of 65 and a low of 48. With your Newsline traffic and weather, I'm Courtney Ingalls.
And that will do it for tonight's edition of Newsline. Many thanks to the entire WRHU News team. Our engineer this evening is Jenny Goldstein.
Stay tuned for the Rock and Roll Oasis, only here on your two-time Marconi Award-winning college radio station, 88.7 FM, WRHU, Radio Hofstra University.
For Newsline, I'm Danielle Zolkowski.
And I'm Sarah Javers. Thanks for listening.